What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aidan, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to continue the draft prospects for the Chicago Bulls as we discuss another player from the NBL. Really excited to talk about this player as well, as it shows that the NBL is still improving as a very big, league, not only in Australia, but potentially across the world. Could be a potential landing spot for a lot of draft prospects that are looking to get to where they need to be in terms of the NBA level and stuff of that nature. And today I'm going to be talking about a French 6'9" forward, small forward or power forward, and his name is Ousmane Dieng, ladies and gentlemen. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bull Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about Ousmane Dieng and whether or not you see him as a worthy candidate for the 18th overall pick. And even if you don't see him as a worthy candidate, where do you think the Chicago Bulls will go in the direction of that 18th overall pick, even if we keep that 18th overall pick or not? Because there's been a lot of news around the Chicago Bulls recently. If I've uploaded those videos beforehand, you would have seen the news. If I haven't yet, you'll probably see the news after this video. But regardless, there's a lot of news around the Chicago Bulls and what we're potentially looking at for trade targets. So the 18th overall pick is by no means a guarantee that we're going to keep that 18th overall pick, but also it could potentially mean that these players that we're looking at, maybe we're not necessarily looking for a center around the NBA draft. So keep that in mind also. Being the best available doesn't necessarily mean a center from my eyes. But looking at the NBL, again, really happy to be talking about another NBL player today, ladies and gentlemen. He played for the New Zealand Breakers, ladies and gentlemen, and his season averages was 8.87 points per game, 1.1 assists per game, 3.2 rebounds per game. He also shot 40% from the field, and he also averaged 27% from the three-point line. So the stats don't scream out to you, ladies and gentlemen, and I've got to be honest, that is expected when you're versing physical players, when you're versing pro players. You're versing players that have a lot more experience, players that have probably been around and done it before. There have been a couple of players around the NBL that have played in the NBA before also, so they've got that level of NBA experience as well. So all that being said, it's not a foregone conclusion that you're going to see a breaking star, maybe like what a LaMelo Ball was in the NBL. A lot of guys pick that direction now. They're going to verse physical players. They're going to verse pro players so they can get the best available. Also financial income as well that comes with versing players in the NBL and obviously going straight to the league from that. You're getting a little bit more financial stability as well. All that being said, I do feel like a lot of players will start going down the professional route after or when they're young, when they join these types of teams, if they're available to them. So keep that in mind with a guy like Ousmane Dieng. Again, French, 6'9" player, small forward or power forward, has a lot of upside, has a lot of potential in him. And I just kind of want to talk about those positives and negatives. So looking at his stats, I think the one that most people will attend to is 27% from the three-point line. He is not a fully defined three-point shooter as of yet. There's good attributes to his game offensively, but the three-point line, in my opinion, is not necessarily one of them. He could definitely make an open one. His form doesn't look too bad. It could definitely be adjusted. It could definitely, be worked upon. And of course, being in the NBA, he will have a lot of time to work on his three-point shooting because the NBA is mainly a three-point shooting league at this point. So you're going to have to get better at the three-point line. But all in all, not all is lost in terms of Ousmane Dieng at the three-point line. He's a very good pick and roll player. I think that's the biggest attribute you're going to get to him in relation to any team that picks him up, including the Chicago Bulls. He's a very good pick and roll player. He's known for those screens, getting by those screens and creating his shot from a pick and roll. That's where his bread and butter comes from, ladies and gentlemen. That's where his 8.87 points, most of it comes from. He's very good in that retrospect. It's one of the biggest highlights about him, and that's why he has a lot of offensive potential, not just for a scorer, ladies and gentlemen, but also for the playmaking side as well. I like to compare this player, not necessarily to DeMar DeRozan, because I think DeMar is much more defined and obviously he has a lot more skills to his repertoire than just the pick and roll. But I think this player can learn a lot from a player like DeMar DeRozan because his assist numbers is actually not that great, in all honesty. As I said before, 1.1 assists per game. Not the worst for a forward, but definitely not the greatest either, especially for a guy that has the ball in his hands for the majority. Is a good ball handler. Can maybe have some on-ball, opportunities on the Chicago Bulls. Will have some responsibility in that way as well. To be able to improve his playmaking from a pick and roll, is an essential part towards the NBA. And that's something DeMar DeRozan has done himself. Playing with the San Antonio Spurs, he was allowed to become a facilitator just as much as he was allowed to become a scorer. Now, that's not translated to 7 assists per game on the Chicago Bulls, but being able to playmaker, make the right decisions in terms of a pick and roll situation, whether it's passing to a center, if they're collapsing, you pass to open shooters, or you take the shot yourself, whatever the case may be. Making that right decision is an essential part of the pick and roll, and it's an essential part of what the Chicago Bulls are going to need. Because if we have another player that's just going to shoot after every single pick and roll, or be a kind of isolation player, or maybe just be a guy that just abuses pick and rolls, and we don't necessarily get the best out of the team, Ousmane Dieng is not going to be the player for you guys, ladies and gentlemen, in all honesty, because I think we do have very similar players already in that vein. We don't necessarily need another one, but at the end of the day, if he's able to improve his playmaking at the NBA level, off of pick and rolls as well, he's going to be a very dangerous player, and I think he's going to have a lot of great potential in this league if he can do that. But that's obviously up to him. It's going to come with practice, being in the pick and roll at the NBA level. If he makes those right decisions, he's going to be very good at that as well. He's very quick, very long player, and in my opinion, he has good defensive traits. Now, his blocks and steals percentages are not terrific. Again, he averaged 0.3 blocks per game and 0.6 steals per game. So, looking at the steals and the block side of things, he won't be a rim protector for the Chicago Bulls at 6'9". Not necessarily going to be, I guess, a guy that's going to be picking pockets all the time and stuff like that. But with his size, his quickness, I think he can keep up with a lot of players on the defensive end, in all honesty. That's what I see out of him. And I could really see him being a good player in terms of playing a defensive system for the Chicago Bulls, because he does have advantages in that way. Again, being a 6'9" player, being able to move on your feet quickly, being able to, I guess, match the opponent in terms of anticipation, and maybe being able to be quicker than those players as well. And even for recovery, if he gets blown by, he can recover in that way as well, because he does have quickness. So yeah, it's very interesting on the defensive end. Obviously, he's not the most highly potential defensive player out there, but at the same time, it's not necessarily, again, he's doing this against pros. So that defensive potential at the college level could have been much more. But at the same time, doing it against pros, there were some defensive lapses. It's not the best defensive potential that I've seen personally. But all of that can still be improved, in all honesty. So, look, a lot of good things, and a lot of, I guess, things that maybe people can be turned off about. He's projected to go around the 25th pick last time I checked. So at the end of the day, that's still a very good pick, in all honesty, and definitely could be a player that could fall all the way down to 18, or potentially maybe even go to the second round. So you've got to be very, very careful in terms of that retrospect. But with all that being said, I guess the real question is, should we take him with the 18th overall pick? He has a lot of potential. Again, an international player, so I'm sure our tourists will be looking at him also. I don't necessarily think international players are a necessity for the Chicago Bulls, but knowing players and scouting players outside of America could be very, very good for us. As the end of the day, there are many, many hidden talents, hidden gems out there. The further and more that we look, the more that you will find. Maybe Ousmane could be one of those players for the Chicago Bulls. I feel like in terms of what I've seen from this position, the forward position, there are a lot of guys that, in my opinion, could be a better option. I still think E.J. Liddell could be a good option that we can look at. Obviously, Ousmane is doing this against pros, so that's obviously something that you got to take a look at compared to the college level. Tyree Easton, someone that we could potentially trade up for if we can, could be a good option as well. But I wouldn't mind this option whatsoever. I do feel like there's a lot of good potential to this player, especially being a good player in terms of maybe adapting his game more to the off-ball style, but also it could be a player for when DeMar DeRozan leaves. So at the end of the day, DeMar DeRozan's here for 2 more seasons, I believe, and there could be potential we re-sign him. There could be potential that he just moves on. Maybe we don't do anything about it. If we can get Ousmane Dieng to learn from DeMar DeRozan, he could be the guy that kind of fills in for DeMar DeRozan once he leaves. Again, that's the potential that he has. Potential is a risky game, risky development. Not everything can live up to potential, but potential is there. And the Chicago Bulls can find a way to unlock that potential out of him. He could very well be what DeMar DeRozan is at the NBA level. I think the pick and roll is a very good part of his game. Obviously, that's a very good part of DeMar DeRozan's game. I think obviously his athleticism and size can help on a defensive end. So there's good positives there. And we'll just have to wait and see how the outcome ends up being for the Chicago Bulls if we go for a player like Ousmane Dieng. Again, I'm always going to appreciate the NBL players, guys like Kai Sotto, guys like Ousmane Dieng. I obviously want them to succeed. I want the NBL to be much more recognized globally. And hopefully these players come in making an impact like what LaMelo Ball did when he played for the NBL as well. It brings exposure to this league as also. The physicality of the league, it's not an easy league to kind of play into. Not everybody's having superstar numbers in this league, but when they come to the NBA level, they'll be ready for the NBA level because they're versing pros. They're versing players that will be physically demanding on you, and it helps adapt in that way. So I'm looking forward to see what Ousmane Dieng can do in terms of the future and whether or not which team selects him, because I think he will get drafted, and which team actually gives him a chance to play some meaningful minutes. That's about it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care and peace.